Hey everybody, it's Niall. Welcome back to Niall Reasons Smile. Hello everybody. It has been a little bit of time since my last wrap-up video because I, in the previous months, did not read much. But I am back and my reading, what is the word? Reading speed is back. I don't know what that means, but okay. I read 6 books in a month and 2.5 weeks. So I don't know if that counts as a month and a half, but I'm gonna say a month because it sounds like I read a lot faster than I did, but it's okay. Today I have my wrap up for February, and one of these books I started in January and finished towards the end, so I'm just gonna like push it into February. But I am so excited. I feel like, you guys, I have finally mastered balancing reading a lot of books with being a full-time university student, with doing a ton of homework all the time, and working, and doing YouTube, and just like everything in life in general, and just like kind of somewhat having a social life on top of all of that. So I read 6 books. Oh my god, what? Without further ado, let us get into this. I just want to talk about them so bad. Some of these books I've already talked about a little bit. If you keep up with my reading vlogs, these will be like not super surprising for you. But nevertheless, let's get into this review. First book I read back in like the middle of January, but ended up finishing towards like the end of January. The book that I said I'm gonna push and say like I sort of read it in February, even though it was like the end of the month of January. A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. Oh my god. This book, literally whenever I try to describe this book, this is, let me give you a scenario. Scene. Hey Naya, what's that book you're reading? Oh, you mean this like piece of gold right here? Is this the book? Yeah, what's the title? A darker Oh, this is The Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. It's amazing. I'm only like halfway through it, but it's so awesome. But like what is the book about? Like a darker shade is like some like weird like dark. Oh no. This is kind of a racist title, huh? The Darker Shade. Let me stop you there. This book, it's like what is it about? You want me to like, I have to go in like 30 seconds, so if you can just like give me like a quick synopsis. Yeah, I can. 20 seconds. So there's like it's called A Darker Shade of Magic, and it has like Londons, like different Londons, and like they're all different colors. There's like 4 of them. Wait, yeah, there's like 4 of them. Like one of them's black, one of them's like red. Oh my god. Okay, so there's this guy, right? So he can like not time travel, but like travel between the Londons, and he has, oh my god, and he has like the coolest coat. Like this coat, it's like 1 coat, but it's like 7 coats, and like he discovers other coats like when he goes to like the different Londons. And there's this girl, and she like kills people, and like, I mean, he kills people too. I mean, like everyone in this book like kills someone, but like they're good. Like he's good. Like it's a good book. Like you should read it. You should read the book. But yeah, that is literally me trying to describe this book, but in better terms. It usually comes out like this book is about this guy who can travel between different Londons, and he's like one of the last 2 time travelers, or like dimension parallel world kind of travelers. It's a really good book. I gave it 10 out of 10. It was honestly totally lived up to the hype. I remember when this book first came out, everyone's like, you should read it, but if you guys know me, I don't always read books when they first come out. I usually wait like a year after they've like died down in popularity, and then I pick it up. This book was so amazing. What I liked the best about this book that I wasn't expecting was just like the really unique magic system, and the way that magic works in this book is it's kind of like its own living being, and that's how I always thought of magic. And it's amazing. And I think the characters in this book, it's one of those books where the characters aren't entirely good or entirely bad. They're kind of like sort of in that gray area where they'll do something really good and you'll be like, oh my god, they're like a hero. But then they'll do something, say kill someone, and you'll be like, ooh, that wasn't very nice, but I still like you. It definitely has that like very realistic magic sort of feel to it, and I just love books that kind of like I don't know, like blur the lines between good and evil, especially YA books that, you know, there isn't just like, these are the good people, these are the bad people. It's like, no, it's like everyone has a little bit of good and bad in them, and we get to see that sort of play out with all these different characters, and just how they interact with each other, and the decisions that they make are very like human-like decisions. It feels like they're real people, and that was like the best thing about reading this, was when I was just able to relate to it so much, because I was like, yes, this reflects our world a lot. And it was amazing, and I highly recommend it if you guys want to read like a really good fantasy book where the magic system is pretty dark and very I don't know, very different and unique and just beautiful. highly recommend this one. The next book that I read, which I also did a reading vlog on, so I will link the reading vlog up here or up here. I'm not sure like which corner it pops up in. But the next book I read, some of you already know, There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins. This book has made it onto my new top favorite thriller slash suspense books. It was so amazing, and I did not know this going into the book, but the main character in this book is Native Hawaiian and African American. If you guys didn't know, I'm Native Hawaiian and African American and like 4 other ethnicities, but like those are the main ones. So to read a book that was like, this is the closest book I've ever read in my entire life where the main character was like similar to my ethnicity. Like I have read books from like the perspective of an African American person, of a I don't know, Filipino person, and I've never read a book where the main character was not only like one of my ethnicities but like 2 of my ethnicities. And just to see, like, I don't know, like there's a certain feeling you get when you get to read a book and you don't have to pretend that the character looks like you. The character just actually looks like you, and it's just, oh, my 13-year-old self is just, finally we get some diversity. I'm so happy. So this book follows our main character, Makani, and she just moved to this very small town, I keep forgetting what it is, in Nebraska, and she's originally from Hawaii. So a situation happened in her life that caused her to basically move all the way into the middle of the country off her little island and change her last name. So she kind of has this whole backstory coming into the book that we don't know about, but we find like a little bit about in each chapter, which is just like a whole another amazing part of this plot. At this new school she goes to, students start dying and no one knows why, and the murders are really like brutal, and it's like a serial killer type of murder. This person keeps killing in this sort of same style, and it's just very disturbing, and she gets scared and everyone in the town is just scared and they don't know who it is and what's going on. Her and her friends like slowly try to figure out and piece together the crimes while trying to stay safe themselves, and the conclusion of this book was so good. It just was one of those like good okay, I can't spoil it for you, but it was good. Next book that I read that I literally just have 1 chapter left of, which I have to read tonight because I have to write a short essay on this book for my anthropology class, In the Name of Hawaiians by Rona Halaulani. And this is a book, it's an ethnographic book, which basically means it's about this woman who kind of goes into the field or goes into this different culture, but in this case it's her own culture, and tries to answer some sort of question and just try to learn more about the culture. It's a non-fiction book and it follows our main character, oh my god, this is how little I read non-fiction. I'm like, our main character, but it follows our author. She is an anthropologist and she is Hawaiian, but she's grown up in the mainland, so everything she knows about Hawaiian culture she learned through books and stories and just like, you know, her family, like what they told her, but she wanted to see what the word Hawaiian really meant, and so she decided to move back to Hawaii and just immerse herself in the culture, and she just learned a lot about the Hawaiian culture from different perspectives, and it was really interesting to see this sort of like outside perspective because I grew up in Hawaii, but the things that she pointed out, like I personally didn't notice until she pointed it out from sort of like this outside perspective, like I said. And it's just very interesting. If you are someone who wants to learn more about the Hawaiian culture, I highly recommend this book. The next book that I read literally is like a gem that I discovered, and I already have the next. There's 8 books in this series. I have to thank my friend Mia. If she's watching this, she recommended this book to me. I saw her reading it on her Kindle one day and I'm like, what is that book you've been so immersed in? And she's like, Naya. I downloaded on my Kindle and literally read in 2 days. It was so good, you guys. And it is The Gender Game by Bella Forrest. This book is so good. Oh my god. Okay, first of all, just to get this out of the way, it was a 10 out of 10 book. Okay, absolutely fantastic, absolutely amazing. I have to get that out of the way before I go in talking about what this book is about, because I'm just hyping it so much because I just loved it so much. The Gender Games. Okay, so this book here is a Kindle published book, and when I first saw the cover of this and read the title, The Gender Game, I'm like, oh my god, this looks like the cheesiest dystopian book that I've ever seen in my life. Just like the whole like female, like just it looks cheesy, but let me tell you, you know the saying like, don't judge a book by its cover or its title or just its like name or synopsis. That is this book. Okay, do not be like deceived by it, because I saw this and I'm like, I'm not gonna like this book like right off the bat. Just I don't think I'm gonna like it. but boy was I wrong. So this book here is a super dystopian book that takes place in the future when men and women in government just like got to the point where they could not agree on anything, so they just totally separated into two different societies: matrice, which is where all the women live, and then patrice, which is where all the men live. So it's super, like I said, just stick with me. It sounds very dystopian, very cheesy, but I promise you the writing is amazing and you will fall in love with it, okay? So two different societies: matrice, patrice, dominant women, dominant men, line down the middle. As you can imagine, in matrice, like, women run everything, and if there are men in the society, they're not allowed to take any sort of like high position, so they can't go and train to be doctors. They just kind of have to take sort of like manual labor jobs, and all the men have to take this test to see like their like level of aggressiveness. Again, this is sounding so dystopian, but it's so good, okay? And if they are deemed to be too like dominant, they have to like either go over to patrice or get sent somewhere far away. In patrice, the whole male society, as you can imagine, women have like no rights in this society. They have to have a husband or some sort of like guardian if they even want to like go outside. It's super like patriarchy, okay? Going into this book, I had my doubts. I was like, Mia, I don't know about this. Finished it in 2 days, you guys. The writing is so amazing. And when I say like there are some underrated books, this is one of those highly underrated books. Like, the author, like the way she pulls you into this world, it's like, it's such an outlandish sort of concept and just just really out there sort of dystopian plot, but she makes it believable. She draws you in and you're like, oh my god, this could actually happen one day. Sorry if you hear that laughter, that's my brother in the background. But anyways, so highly recommend this book. If you're someone who loves dystopian and just hasn't been able to find a good dystopian book, one that's kind of like at that level of like Divergent and stuff, highly recommend the Gender Games. There's 8 books in this series. It's a Kindle published book, so I don't know if they offer it in a physical form, but the book is 99 cents on Kindle. So just download it and like read it, because like if the book was any more than 99 cents, I think I wouldn't have like gotten it, because I had my doubts, like I said. The next book I read is another book that is a Kindle book. I've just been loving and just like really getting into ebooks lately this month, mainly because like I'm a university student and honestly I have no room in my backpack to fit the giant books that I normally read, and I'm a commuter student, so I'm walking everywhere with a backpack, so I don't, you know, I'm trying to like minimize as much as possible the weight that I have to carry on my back every day. This next book was way outside of my sort of like comfort zone of books, but I watched an interview on YouTube with Leigh Bardugo, and she wrote 6 of Crows, by the way. If you haven't read it, it's amazing, just side note. Anyways, so she said one of the best ways to become a better reader, a better writer, is to read not only a lot, but really different genres that are outside of your comfort zone, genres that you wouldn't normally read, because all this sort of, it just gives you a different sort of perspective, and it exposes you to different writing styles and things like that. And I'm like, you know what, that's really good advice. And one of my like resolutions this year was to read like outside of just like the normal like fantasy sci-fi genres that I usually stick with. If you guys know, this author actually followed me on Instagram, and I was checking out her page. I was kind of like stalking her. She's like an Amazon self-published author, and she just had like so many good reviews on her books, and like her genre that she writes in is urban fiction. And you know, I was reading the synopsis and just I just looked at the cover of the book and I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna like this. But once again, just like the Gender Games, I gave it a try, and literally it was so good. And I think I'm learning so much this month to just get outside of my comfort zone with books and try books that don't look don't judge books by covers. Naya. Cameron by Jade Jones, and I want you to get a good look at this cover, okay? So I saw this cover and I was like, I don't know, this looks like erotica and I don't think I'm gonna like it. But this is urban fiction, and it is adult like urban fiction, but it ended up being so good. Like, I started it and I just kept reading because I was like, oh my god, I need to look out for my girl, what's happening with my girl Cameron, because in this book we follow our main character Cameron, hence the title, she is a university student, but in order to pay for like her tuition and just to like survive in the world, because she doesn't have like parents to support her and stuff, she has to become a stripper. So she's like a stripper at night, and she does this in order to make money to fund her schooling and just to stay in school and to hopefully one day like become something more. And I thought the story, I'm like, wow, that sounds really cool. So I started reading it, and it is like such an action-packed book. I was not expecting, like, so much drama goes down like every night at her work, and she's also just dealing with like this really abusive relationship with her boyfriend currently, and she just doesn't have very good friends in her life also, so it's kind of just like she's constantly dealing with all of this stuff, and every chapter you're just like, oh my god, like something's going down, and you have to keep reading, and it's so good. So I would give this book a 9 out of 10. It was just like, oh, like urban fiction. Like, who would have thought I would have just like loved urban fiction, and now I just have another genre, and I want to read a bunch of urban fiction now. So I'm planning on reading the second book in the series. I think there's like 9 books, just like the Gender Games. There's a ton of books in this series, so super excited. Sorry this video is so long, but the last book that I read this month, which the 4th book in this series, is coming out in March, and this is my favorite book series of all times. This book changed my life. I got a tattoo of a quote from this book. It is my book. It is my soul. It is my child. It is the book for me. Everyone has their book. This is my book. So I'm getting all emotional because I'm currently on the 2nd book, Unravel Me. Spoiler. And it's just reading this book just brought back memories, and I just remembered when I first read this book, and this isn't the first time I reread it. I reread this book probably like 5 or 6 times, but every time I read it, it feels like the first time again. It's that book, you know? And that is Shatter Me by Tahereh Mafi. I don't know how to like, I feel like I've described this book so many times, and it's just because I've read it so many times, but it follows our main character, Juliet, and she is a girl with powers, and that is all I'm going to tell you. And you need to read this book. You will cry, you will laugh, and hopefully you will fall in love with it, but I'm rereading it. I plan on rereading this whole series before the last book comes out. Hopefully I have time because it comes out in like, what, 2.5 weeks now? So I gotta kind of get on it. But again, you guys, Shatter Me is like not even on the scale of books because it's so amazing. Those are all the books that I read this month. Thank you guys so much for watching. I promise I have some reading vlogs coming in the future. I plan on doing another 24-hour readathon very soon. Zoe's hosting a spring edition, so that'll be my next video you guys will hopefully see. But until next time, keep reading, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.